Well, good evening and welcome to this short notice emergency pro-life webcast. With everything going on, we just wanted to jump on and talk about this because we had tons of questions. My name is Mark Cavalier with the Southwest Coalition for Life, and it's an honor to be here with you tonight as we prepare for everything that lays ahead. And we also commemorate just this past Sunday what was the 50th anniversary of Roe versus Wade, that Supreme Court decision under which 63 million estimated lives have been lost, women have been injured, and which has now been called egregiously wrong from the start by the Supreme Court of the United States, correcting that decision. Since then, we've been seeing so many, there's been so much news going state by state, county by county, city by city. One of the things that just happened yesterday down in my neck of the woods in the southern part of the state, just across the state line down in Paso County. Even though the state of Texas has put in place the Human Life Protection Act to protect life from the moment of conception, they're still challenging that. And the El Paso County put a resolution forward, which they snuck through and kind of did a really fast vote before even allowing any public comment to stand in solidarity with the nation's largest abortion supporter, Planned Parenthood. The same also yesterday. We saw what is now the third city in the state of New Mexico, Eunice, New Mexico, pass ordinances at the local level restricting abortion and protecting the integrity of the local medical profession by asking any abortion providers that come into their city to comply with federal law. And even that is something that they're not able to do, which I think is very, very telling. And so we're going to talk about that and unpack that and the news that has come out also just yesterday about now the Attorney General of New Mexico filing lawsuits against the two cities, now a third, and the two counties that are putting these types of protections in place. So we're going to unpack that. But before then, one of the things that is really, to me, the biggest threat of everything that we're facing is the governor of New Mexico having pledged $10 million of state tax funding to build what would be a fifth abortion center in Doña Ana County, and really for no other reason, obviously, than just to target Texas women because of the influx of women we've been seeing coming from out of state for abortions in the state of New Mexico, and really doing all that on the dime of the New Mexico tax dollars. So I'm really excited. In a moment, we're going to be bringing a few people on, but first I want to ask Rebecca Dow. She's been helping us. I'm going to pull her on right now. So Rebecca, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. It's really cold in Santa Fe. I'm missing southern New Mexico.
Oh, it's a little bit warmer down here. It's still pretty chilly though, actually. But thank you again for everything. You have been phenomenal and just putting so much time into to really helping us prepare to battle this $10 million abortion facility. I know one of the questions I've been getting a lot from people is this seems like it's the kind of thing that a lot of people thought was just a done deal. But explain this process and how, the opportunities that people have to try to speak out against this $10 million funding for this center.
So each legislative session, there's a capital outlay budget, and the capital outlay budget, a third goes to the House members, a third goes to the Senate, and a third goes to the governor. But the lawmakers are the appropriators. We're the ones who make decisions. Well, the current House members are the ones, and Senate members are the ones who make the decisions on how money's spent. So they can put that money in on behalf of the governor, or they can leave it out because their constituents don't want it. That's why it's so important to make the calls. The issue is, in the end, the governor has line item veto for capital outlay budgets that make it to her desk. So, word on the street is, you don't give her capital outlay, then your community with failing water, that needs infrastructure, who needs new school, that your capital outlay will not be funded. If you don't fund hers, she won't fund yours. So wow. On opening day, we had a new speaker Javier Martinez, and he made a very blatant and obvious move to remove pro-life leaders of influence from tax and revenue. These are the Democrats that vote pro-life, and from appropriations. So getting people to have the courage and even the desire to say no to the governor as those dollars go through the appropriation and tax committees got a lot harder. So we need more calls than ever, more emails than ever, more people to log on and participate in the webcast than ever.
And, I just want to point out too, because from what I understand, The Speaker of the House actually removed the first woman chair of that particular committee, who was a Democrat, but because she, I guess, respected life. Was I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, not only is she a woman, she's Hispanic, and she voted pro-life. And
Wow.
so, yeah, she was removed from the committee. It was crazy. Farmers and ranchers that are conservative Democrats were removed from agriculture. I mean, they're very strategic to make sure that their progressive agenda could move forward without any barriers from Republicans partnering. Usually we can kill a bill when we partner with what we call moderate Democrats.
And is it so? So is it too much to say that this was a blatant move, just kind of stacking the deck just to push this agenda through for the governor?
I mean, it's obvious in every aspect of New Mexico. When you look, 48% of voters identify as conservatives. They're either registered Republican, Libertarian, Independent, declined state, or they're Democrat and say, I vote Republican. But yet, because of gerrymandering and because of the amount of money that goes to the progressive candidates, the representation in Santa Fe is around 34%. So it's definitely already an uphill battle. We have what they call a trifecta of one party, and that is the Progressive Party. I wouldn't even say, the traditional family, pro-life family Catholic Democrat. That's
Sure.
not who represents us anymore.
Wow. And it's a really good point. I know a lot of pro-life Democrats, especially in this part of the country. But this is different. This is an agenda. This is
Yeah,
not just a
those
party.
pro-life Democrats have been primaried, and most of them have been removed from office.
Wow.
And now they happen to make it. A lot of them were primaried. They made it, and they were just removed from any level of influence within the committee process.
So this funding has to be approved by the two committees in the House, the two committees in the Senate. I know they're trying to kind of stack the deck a little bit to make that a safer bet for them. So some people might be feeling, is it worth still taking the time to make those phone calls, send those emails?
They tell us, I think the sheer amount of pressure that you get is sometimes enough, or what you need. Look, I have to vote no. I have had more calls from my constituents and people across the state than any other bill. That's the kind of rising we need, so that they are very clear, crystal clear on where the average New Mexican stands. We don't want another taxpayer-funded abortion. I mean, we're already funding abortions through Medicaid.
And so,
Regardless of income, regardless
right,
of citizenship, and regardless of residency. Now we're building the facilities.
right. So I just want, and again, I just want to highlight. So you just finished a term as a representative, and you have seen these calls, these emails make an impact where people have said, "I've had so much response, I have to go this way."
Yes, absolutely, and it gives them, some people, it gives them the courage they need and the backing that they need to say, "I've got to do this. This is what my
Wow.
constituents want."
I love it. Okay, well, very good. Well, there's a few other things that we're going to talk about. Is there anything else though for this week?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's on, sometime this week. Republican Representative Josh Hernandez and Democrat Representative Anthony Allison are co-sponsoring a bill to expand the adoption tax credit. Right now in New Mexico, it's $2,000. If you adopt a special needs child, their bill expands that to all children that are adopted, but does add an additional couple $1,000s for a special needs child as well. And I'm proud of that life-affirming bill. Allison is a pro-life Democrat from the Navajo Nation, and Josh Hernandez was adopted as a child. So they're great champions of this bill, and I hope folks will support that. It's a good, positive bill that those of us who want to support life after birth can get behind.
Very good. Well, I know we've talked about it before. We haven't really announced it, but you and I, we talked about planning to get, pull in other people from across the state, at least on a weekly basis, to give updates throughout this session on things to support, things to call and oppose. Are we still on? That's something people can look forward to?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it because yes, there's a lot going on with not only the things that we need to be active in opposing that are threatening, but there's going to be some stuff that I think people are going to get excited about supporting. And so I really appreciate your guidance on this, Rebecca.
And I just want to say thank you to you and to all the folks that are part of your group down in Southwest New Mexico and in West Texas. Thank you so much for what you're doing to protect life and to protect women's healthcare.
Oh, well,
Real women's healthcare.
Well, absolutely, yes, and it's great to be working with you. So, okay, we'll be back with Rebecca sometime in the near future, and I'll tell you guys how to do that in just a moment. So, thank you, Rebecca. And so we talked about some of the things that we're going to be informing you to stay vigilant about. But then there's also a few things that we're talking about, such as the adoption bill, things that we want to also make those phone calls to support. And when they get those overwhelming number of phone calls, it makes it very clear where the culture of New Mexico is going, the things that we want, and the things that we don't want. So at this point, I actually want to bring on the director of New Mexico Right to Life, Ethel Maharg. And let's see, are you still there, Ethel? Yes. Okay. So let me put you on. And so how are you doing this evening, first of all?
I'm good. I'm good. Oh, I think I'm a little too hype here. Yeah. Hi.
That's okay.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
So I have always been a biggest fan. I came up and I was so happy to help with your event for New Mexico Right to Life. And I've just been so eager and excited to hear about some of the things that with this session coming up. And I know that there's some potential possibility bills that are still kind of in the works. Is that something that you're ready to talk about yet?
Well, I'll just let me study this whole thing here. Yeah. Make sure it doesn't fall over.
There you
go. Okay. Right now, of course, the pregnancy centers, and I know that they're working with Mike, and he's probably going to talk about those things, and they're working on those bills. But we have some things from National Right to Life, and they're wanting to support the informed consent. And I know that there's several of these bills that people are talking about that they're working for, and I know that Representative Jennifer Jones wants to do one with informed consent. So this is a perinatal hospice service act model. And so anyway, they want to they want for women that if they're going to go have an abortion, they want them to have all the information possible. And then the next bill that they're looking at, because of course you and I know that they don't, when we go into in the pregnancy centers, when they go over there to Planned Parenthood to get their abortion, they have no clue what they're doing. They just say sign here, and that's the end of that. So we want for them to understand completely what it is that's going on. If abortion is going to go on, they should at least understand. I was looking, even there was any medical procedure that takes place, the doctor goes over it. They tell him that, in fact, my husband just had one, little teeny stitches on his hand, but he told them, there's a potential of infection, there's a potential of this, there's a potential of death, things like that.
Sure.
And so I don't know, they're not informed like that. So they need to have that informed consent. Another one that we're looking for, and this one is near and dear to my heart, and this is the Down Syndrome Prenatal and Postnatal Education Act. Because of course, Down syndrome babies are targeted for abortion. And as you know, my little granddaughter, Cadence, is now 7 years old. Wow. And she's the Down syndrome baby, but she's doing great. She's doing great. So this is something that they can avoid targeting the Down syndrome babies. The other one is the abortion pill reversal information, because right now there's a large percentage of abortions taking place. And that was why I was so glad Roosevelt County, when they passed their ordinance, it's like, you can't bring anything. Don't bring anything like that that's going to cause abortion. So the abortion pill reversal, because many women don't know that if they because it takes 2 pills, the mifepristone, they take the first pill, and then all of a sudden they feel bad, and then they change their mind. They don't understand that they could go in and go to the hospital and get that taken care of. So we're wanting to get more and more information out to the women. Again, it's all about information, so that they know that if they change their mind, they can go in and get the treatment, and that would be a progesterone treatment. And hundreds of babies have been saved because of that. So they need to know that. Okay, they need to know that they could do that. And then the other one is parental notification. Our kids, like Mike says, right now there's a clinic that just went across from one of the schools. And, he said your little 8th grader can go across the street and get an abortion. And we want parents to be notified.
Right.
Because in the event something goes wrong with that abortion, as they often do, who's held responsible?
Right.
The parent.
Right.
So parents should be notified when their daughter is going to be put into an invasive procedure that could harm her. Right. So we want to involve the parents. That's always been their goal, is to separate the parents from the the children. So our goal is to continue to bring them back. I know that these are not like it's not the heartbeat bill, but
Sure.
we continue to plug along to make inroads for education, and we're still working on an education package to get out to the entire state, because we want to make sure that the entire state is knowledgeable about abortion
Sure.
and what takes place, and not just the abortion, what happens after, all those things that take place. So we're working on that as well.
Well, and it's no secret that New Mexico is overwhelmingly pro-abortion in the
Oh, yeah.
legislators and all that. So, but I think it's very telling that even things as common as or simple and seemingly logical, that if we are going to have abortion up to delivery, at the very least, can we have informed consent? At the very least, can we have parental consent? At the very least, can we have some of the support for educating women about the risks and the fact that even that is a battle in the state of New Mexico, I think is just very, very telling. So we got to start. We got to start with whatever we can. And so I look forward to continuing to keep people updated too every week and anything that is coming out of New Mexico Right to Life that we can be supporting. So thank you so much for all you do.
I just also want to say that, this writ that came out from for the Attorney General's office, I've been called by the news stations, every news station, and so I've been given interviews. But what I'm wanting to do is dismantle every little piece, because one of the things that they use is their language, of course, and they're saying the flawed interpretation. Remember how they said in the 1969 law, it was the antiquated law. In fact, he's got it in his writ, the antiquated law. Now they're going to use, and I promise you, they'll start using the flawed interpretation of this bill, of the statute. So I've been really working hard to pick out the words, like the reproductive rights and the flawed, all these little things, and then give information to people so that they know that these ordinances were created by a federal statute, and that they're in good standing, and that we all stand with these people.
Yeah,
we stand
absolutely.
with these communities. So.
And I'm glad you brought that up. You mentioned Mike. I'm going to bring him on in a second to talk more.
Oh, good.
Dive a little deeper into that. So, but Ethel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're gonna continue to keep everyone updated with not only the things that again that we're fighting against, but especially a lot of these positive bills coming out of New Mexico Right to Life. So, Ethel, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night. Real quick, I want to bring on too. It sounded like there was a little bit of a mom emergency. So I was going to bring on Ms. Dominique Davis with Project Defending Life earlier. She's just jumped on, but we were talking a moment ago about to this $10 million abortion center. And, one of the things that not only are we, this $10 million abortion center, but this is our tax dollars going towards more abortion when there is a lot of more priorities that if we're going to spend that money to help moms, I think would be much better to do. So Dominique has been, we were talking earlier about, she's so good at having some of that information. And so we're going to be working to try to make that available, but she's jumping on tonight. So first of all, how are you doing tonight, Dominique?
I'm doing good. Thank you. A little wild. So sorry.
No, I know it's been a crazy week for everybody. So yeah, I mean, one of the things I think everybody watching, as we're getting ready to get active in this session and make phone calls and emails, it's yes, we have to call and say we're opposed to this, but it's really important, I think, that we educate ourselves and have some talking points on knowing, the reasons why, and being able to call them out for hypocrisy and things like that. And you were the first person I called because you're always really good at that. Is there anything just off the top of your head that you've already thought of as far as just the ridiculousness of $10 million going towards more abortion?
Yes, I can think of several. And let me just say that I am currently working on a document, a group of us are, to write down some of these factual, up-to-date talking points about what's going on in New Mexico, especially as it relates around women's health, maternal health, family health. And this information will go out to the public, obviously more likely through you, Mark, since you're the one who's sort of rallying the troops right now. But the first thing that comes to mind, this $10 million essentially abortion facility that's going to open up, and that they want to open up in Doña County, would mainly serve women coming from Texas for abortions. And this is in a county where less women are accessing abortions. So, and they're needing more like OBGYN care, especially for prenatal care and delivery. And it's interesting that they would target Doña Ana when they're not necessarily a women's health desert, so to speak. I'm thinking of places like Clovis right now that travel to Texas. Pregnant women travel to Texas to get prenatal care and to deliver their babies because there's not any OBGYN or delivering hospital in Clovis or nearby. I can also think of in Gallup, their only maternity ward that's not a part of the Indian Health Services closed down a few months ago, late last summer, because there's no OBGYN care there to deliver the baby. So they're having to travel to Grants, which is also struggling to maintain prenatal and delivery care there, or to Albuquerque, which is a 2-hour drive. And I cannot even imagine, in labor driving an hour or two to get any type of healthcare. So it's interesting to me that the focus is in Doña Ana when there's a little bit more access to resources than there is even in Clovis or in Gallup. And it's just interesting that they're prioritizing Texas women accessing abortion instead of New Mexico women accessing and having prenatal care and delivery care. So these are just some of the things that I think we can bring up in conversation and really change the dialogue about how we really want to care about not just, of course, the unborn child, but the woman who is carrying this baby to life. And she deserves just as much good care as anybody else.
Yeah, and even if for a moment we just pretend that the trauma of abortion, as they claim, was actually some kind of health care, the fact that there's already 4 abortion facilities in Doña Ana County, this would be a 5th abortion center. If you look at the number of abortions happening by Doña Ana County residents, it's so low. And why would you need a $10 million 5th abortion center just to handle that, if not for targeting Texas women coming through El Paso from across the state of Texas and beyond on the dime of New Mexico taxpayers? So thank you, Dominique. I know that you helped us get started a bunch of these statistics and notes. And towards the end, I'm going to let people know exactly where they're going to be able to go and find those talking points as soon as they're ready. So, but I want everyone to know the genius behind a lot of that once they get it in their hands is going to be Miss Dominique Davis, who we're very grateful for. So any other closing thoughts or anything before we move on?
No, not right now. But
well, have a good night. And again, we're going to be having some weekly updates throughout this session and bringing on Dominique and Ethel and Rebecca and others. But I know the big question with the big headline that dropped yesterday is the Attorney General of the state of New Mexico suing its own cities and counties simply for asking anyone doing abortions within their jurisdiction to comply with federal law. And there's a lot of talk and confusion and misinformation about this, but of course we have our very good friend Mike Seibel with Abortion on Trial that I'd like to bring on. And Mike, between everything happening in the El Paso County yesterday and just getting some things going on with our team, I have not really had a chance to really unpack what exactly is going on. What is going on? What do we need to know about this?
Well, I just got back from Eunice where we passed that ban. It's a de facto ban on abortion. That's what this is. It's straight up a de facto ban. That's what the AG says. Let me set the stage a little bit. Back in July, Mark Lee Dixon and I designed a statute, an ordinance. We designed a lot of these ordinances together. And we started to go to the southeast part of the state in the situation. We eventually, over the objections of Republican senators Martin Zamora, Rod Montoya, and Randy Crowder, representatives, I should say, passed 5 different ordinances in 5 different jurisdictions. Eunice was earlier this month, was Roosevelt County, the second county in America to do that. Before that was Clovis, the second city in New Mexico to pass a de facto ban. Before that, it was Lee County and Hobbs. And, this statute is very well designed. It's designed by myself and Mark Lee Dixon and one of the top attorneys in the United States, Jonathan Mitchell, as well as some of the local people here. And the Attorney General has filed a suit in what I think is a very weak argument on behalf of the Attorney General. But I'm kind of excited for the suit because, one of the things that Ethel mentioned is he said, this is flawed interpretation of the Comstock Act, which prevents the distribution of the abortion pill and distribution of abortion paraphernalia. Which is a concern to the national movement as well. And I think he's absolutely nuts to file this lawsuit in New Mexico to go forward, because even if our Supreme Court rules that we have a constitutional right to abortion, it doesn't trump an active federal statute like the Comstock Act. So that sets up a huge argument at the Supreme Court level. And what better time to go to the Supreme Court on abortion than right now? I mean, we've got 5 justices that are really good and one that's so-so in Roberts. And, we've got good people there. We've got an existing law in the Comstock law that prohibits this type of stuff. Wouldn't it be miraculous if New Mexico actually caused the abortion pill to be banned in 50 states? That could be a possibility. I mean, it's great what they're doing. I mean, I'm looking at it, the legislation in this lawsuit, and they're like, we want to stop all these local cities from exercising their own jurisdiction to enforce federal law. Great. Let's go to war. Let's go to have the biggest lawsuit in the United States right now regarding abortion. I think this is an incredible opportunity. I disagree with some of the things that were said on Bob Clark. I think, over the years, the New Mexico legislature has not passed any bans. Markley Dixon and I passed 5 bans, and we are bringing this issue to the federal level in this situation, and it's going to be a fight. And I know I'm ready. Markley Dixon's ready. I'm hoping you all are ready to pray a lot, because we got a long shot. Let's take it. Let's litigate this to the Supreme Court of the United States.
And that's the thing I thought that was amazing, is that you never know exactly how these things pan out. Things don't get changed until they're challenged. So there's a chance, there's an opportunity that by actually this being challenged at the federal level could very well be a blessing in disguise. Am I understanding that right?
You're understanding that right. And what I'm really excited about is who's going to represent, these cities and counties is Jonathan Mitchell, one of the best attorneys in the United States, the architect of SB 8. He's been to the Supreme Court. He worked for the Supreme Court. He was a clerk for Justice Scalia. We can't have a better person representing us going up on this for the cities and the counties in the situation. And this is a really interesting thing on how it's going to play out. I want everybody to pray as hard as they can for this lawsuit. I mean, we might lose here in New Mexico if we get to the Supreme Court, even if we go to the Supreme Court. This may go to the federal courts immediately. It may be removed. Or it may go to the Supreme Court and then appeal, Supreme Court of New Mexico, and then appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States. This is an amazing turn of events. I can't believe that the Attorney General would risk this. I can't believe that the legislature would even think about passing a bill in this situation. They could do damage to the rest of the abortion industry throughout the United States. I don't know what they're thinking.
That's amazing. Well, we'll be praying. And one of the things too, I know we just started on it, but Dominique is putting together some information, and I want people to know that a lot of the numbers and statistics and things that are going to be able to empower them to speak up and call in. Nobody gets those data and helps us to understand that, analyze those numbers, then abortion on trial. And so I just wanted to thank you too, because I know that a lot of those. That power that people are going to have. I just want them to know that that you're helping to put that in as well. So,
and I want people to know, and we'll expand on this further. We have reduced the amount of abortions by 50% since 2004, 15% just in the last 5 years alone. We are a pro-life state. Women don't want abortions here. Our residents don't really care for any more abortion. It's a reduction every single year. There's never been an increase for the last 20 years, no matter how much money they spend. So when you get these statistics, you're going to see how crazy this $10 million idea is.
Right. Well, Mike, thank you very much. We just hit our 30-minute mark, so we're going to go and wrap things up. I know I'm going to be bugging you throughout this session to bring on more information, unpack with as things are happening. People are going to be wondering what to do next. What's the next step of action? What do we need to be saying now? And so we're going to be keeping people updated. And so thank you for being a part of that.
Oh, you bet. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, Mike. Okay, folks. So we're still working on this. It's a pretty early draft, but what we're going to do is we're redoing the website over at newfrontline.org, www.newfrontline.org. That is going to be, it's just kind of an early draft right now, but that is going to be the page that you can go to throughout this session. It's going to have these weekly updates all right there. So you can go in, you can find the past videos, recordings, replays of these week to week, and then that's going to be where the new ones are going to pop in automatically. It's also going to be where you can find all the phone numbers and email addresses of these committee members with talking points, and check that page, refresh that page frequently, because as we get talking points put together from Dominique and numbers and statistics from Mike, we're going to be putting that there at newfrontline.org so that you have that in your hands, all the phone numbers you need, and so that everything is there in one place that you can go and be a part of making a huge difference. So you can go ahead and go over there now and register. Just put in your name and email address, and then you will get to the main page where it has currently the petitions that if you have not yet signed, make sure that you're sharing that link to newfrontline.org and encouraging everyone to go there and sign those petitions. It's going to automatically send emails to those committee members, and then it has the email addresses and the phone numbers of those committee members to call them and contact them and communicate with them one-on-one individually. Just like Rebecca said, it makes a huge difference when they're getting slammed every single day, day after day, that they can't ignore that. So go over there and then just know that you're going to be there and refreshing that page on a regular basis as new information and new calls to action get added on a weekly basis. So newfrontline.org. You may have to refresh the page if we used to use that for the gala that we did recently, but it's just go and refresh it. You should get the updated content. So anyway, that being said, I hope everybody has a really good night. Share that link. All the petitions are there, and spread the word, and tell people that we're going to be doing this at least once a week. And if there's any huge urgent need, we may even do it more than that on a case-by-case basis. So God bless you all. I hope you have a really good night. Pray, and spread the word.